So, today's video is going to be about Angela Rye. Angela Rye has her own podcast right now. Right now, they're talking about the transition into power, Joe Biden sitting with Donald Trump, and why would he do that? Why would they want a peaceful transition to power? Donald Trump's a fascist. All these same talking points that really Democrats were stuck on. They never talked about policy. They never talked about real issues. And that is the reason why I believe the Democratic Party lost. And I think if we're not ready to have these serious conversations, especially if you're part of the Democratic Party, this is what you should be asking. How do we not have this happen to us next time? How do we focus and talk about policy? Because the fact that they were so stuck on Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, that's why he's sitting in the office today. Check out this clip. I'll be right back.
Of power. Kamala Harris in her concession speech talked about a peaceful transition of power. But how do you have a peaceful transition with someone who actually isn't so peaceful in his remarks and some of the things that he's done in the past as president? What is this all about? So I wanted to make sure that I was factually accurate. There is some law for this. The Presidential Transition Act of 1963 ensures that there is some transitional things that happen. Most of it come from an entity called the GSA, the General Services Agency in the federal government, and actually don't have much to do with the pageantry that happens in the Oval Office. Now, they say that an incumbent president has 3 responsibilities. 1 is the law, 2 is precedent, and 3 is goodwill. But I want to know how far goodwill should go. Should he be meeting with Donald Trump in the Oval Office for a peaceful transition of power? Is that a way to neutralize some of what is to come? I actually don't like it, y'all. Maybe I'm just out here. Maybe I'm, Andrew, I know you're the resident diplomat among us.
Angela's so delusional. If you haven't watched The Breakfast Club when Jill Stein was on there, the neoliberalism and the pushing anything that comes out of the Democrats' mouth, Angela does. So you're telling me that they shouldn't be mature? They shouldn't have a peaceful transition to power? This girl berates people. She's unfactual, ignorant. And even Jill Stein had to smack her up and educate her and was like, look, honey bun, you don't know what you're talking about. If y'all haven't watched that on The Breakfast Club, go check that out because that was disgusting. But hear this brother talk.
I think Joe Biden, having wrested so much of his rebirth in his run for presidency, and even Kamala through the prosecuting of the case around why Donald Trump is unfit to serve in the office again, they were rightly trying to ring the alarm, sound the alarm, treat him as not normal, as a pariah in many ways. But once the people have spoken, once voters have decided, and in this way, in a relatively convincing way in modern politics, given the spread, it is incumbent upon the existing leadership to, in my opinion, hold with its traditions and its norms. And quite frankly, it's been done. Hillary Clinton sat there as the opponent of Donald Trump, but as a former first lady and wife to President Bill Clinton, in what this woman wanted to do, snatch his hair, hers, and everybody else's. But that's not what we do in democratic societies. And as frustrating as it is, it will frustrate me to have to see Michelle and Barack Obama and Bill and Hillary Clinton and even the Bushes, even though George Bush stayed silent in this cycle, but they will sit on that platform and that podium and they will demonstrate not only to Americans, but to the rest of the world that what mature, sophisticated, democratic societies do is they have peaceful transfers of power, the passing of leadership from one party to the other. And I know I'm a traditionalist in this way, but I do believe the optics are important to communicate. It was fine to treat him as a pariah and call him every name under the child of God, up until the point that voters decided that they wanted him to be their president again. And at that point, he is entitled to the rights, privileges, customs, and obviously the legal um, um, justifications for his acts as.
And this brother, he's the only one making sense. He's like, this is American values. He's the only one that made sense to me. Like, he's the one that's being reasonable and saying, hey, look, like, we have mature transfers of power in America. And she knows this. She knows this. It's just the constant delusions that I hear from these black Democrats. It just doesn't make sense.
But the will and the graciousness and the magnanimity of the office of president. And just because one derelict, Donald Trump, has no respect for democracies and our norms, doesn't mean that we are then equal by abandoning them right along with them.
It's like, girl, calm down. Calm down. Maybe if you could calm down and think critically, you could see where your co-host is coming from, because he's saying the truth. We live in a democratic society. We do mature transfers of power. And honestly, this constant calling Donald Trump a racist when Joe Biden's on the record, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That is the most racist, bigoted shit I've ever heard. So if Donald Trump's a bigot, so is Biden. Like, I'm so freaking tired of hearing this talking point. He's racist. He's this. He's a misogynist. I feel like most of these politicians are. So, like, we're getting out of that. And then the constant focus on identity politics. Democrats, this is the reasons why you guys lost the election.
That if he took an oath, I would like for us to pull up the presidential oath. Well, because I think that it's actually a violation of the presidential oath to sit down and meet with this man.
I think that's an opinion, but I think Andrew,
it is my opinion. I said I think.
Yeah, Angela, I hear you. Number one,
Angela, what does the presidential oath have to do with that? The delusion. Here we go.
I'm just saying, it's no need to.
Angela is a pawn for the Democratic Party. She's going to say anything. She's going to do anything. She's been being used for quite some time. I think a lot of her flex, a lot of her power has disappeared over the years. When she first came on the scene, she was a very respectable woman. But after watching her through this election and even now say the most idiotic things, like saying the presidential oath would tell Joe Biden not to sit down with Donald Trump, she's delusional. She's delusional. She's losing it. And Democrats, you guys better get better black pawns, because us black people, we're not listening to them. We're not doing it.
I hear you, and nobody is attacking you.
I understand. I don't feel attacked, and I'm not attacking any of y'all. My volume is my passion.
I just want us all to have like a mature exchange of everything, because right now
I'm also passionate. It's mature passion.
Well,
I have siphoned off on occasion. Angela, you siphoned off on occasion. Tiffany, you will siphon off on an occasion, because this is a highly charged moment, and I understand that all of us have strong opinions about how we feel.
I just want us to be respectful to each other's point. Andrew, I hear your point. Angela, I hear.
Angela's always super defensive, to the point that her co-host is like, girl, I'm right here. Calm down. I'm right here. Stop being so overly emotional so you can think critically. Put your emotions in your pocket for a minute and think critically. I feel like every video I've watched her during this election cycle, she's been nothing but a hot mess, emotional mess. And people like Angela Rye and these other people on this podcast, they have chosen a paycheck instead of focusing on grassroots issues that black people really need to be fixed in our country. About the people that are upset in Chicago about all the illegal immigrants, I don't hear them talk about these issues or even go down there to see how these black folks feel. But they like to speak on the behalf of black people constantly when they don't even. And I really once liked Angela Rye. I thought she was doing some really good stuff. But the more I started to notice that she was falling into identity politics, coming at Jill Stein, and through this election cycle, I unfortunately have lost so much respect for black Democrats. Their focuses are all on identity politics instead of the grassroots and what black people really need. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and like my channel.